Good afternoon to one and all present here with us today. I'm Sharmishra Chatterjee, currently pursuing my bachelor's in design with specialization in product design from the University of Petroleum and Energy Studies. This is my last semester in college, but the university has given me so much, such beautiful memories, which I will be keeping to myself for the rest of the life. It has given me roots to stay grounded, and it has given me wings to soar high up in the sky. What a beautiful thing technology is. Just look at it, behold. We are interacting with such great stalwarts in their own fields, sitting miles apart and yet so close to each other. It gives me immense pleasure to bring to you Mr. Anup Sasidharan,
Hi,
Dr.
everybody.
Deepak Singh, and Mr. Sushil Bharadwaj as panelists for today's webinar. As the government prepares to restart the economy post-lockdown, leaders are deeply concerned and are taking urgent measures to manage the fast-evolving crisis of jobs and work. Safeguarding and recreating jobs will be critical priorities as we enter this period of transmission. The focus of the webinar is on giving students, be it freshly graduating ones or the newbies who are yet to commence with their college life, on the ways which they can use this opportunity to enhance their skills and be ready for the post-lockdown world. These times are challenging and we are forced to look at things in a very different manner. Students are finding themselves in the middle of, cross junction of life changing decisions. And they have masks on their faces, they have sanitizers in their hands, and they have a lot of pressure on their minds. So this is a time where they really need counseling and they need to channelize their energy into the right direction. That is what I feel. And these can be like groundbreaking things which can be coming up in the really means close future. So during the webinar, the students are free to question our panelists, and you can drop in your questions in the comment section and we shall get back to you towards the end of the webinar. To start with the session, we have our first panelist, Mr. Anup Sasidharan, who is Director Strategic Alliances and International Partnerships at Global University Systems, senior management professional with extensive experience in leading operations, strategic alliances, projects, and business development. To start with, I would like to question him. And the first question is, sir, how do you feel is the economy going to shape up in the coming few months post the upliftment of the lockdown?
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for setting the context, Sharmila. It was nicely done. And good evening to my fellow panelists, Deepak and Sushil as well. So I'm very privileged to be amongst you, and thank you very much for my audience for taking the time out and listening to us. And I'm more than happy to share my views about it. As most of you are aware that we are currently under a COVID-19 pandemic scenario, and the impact has been dreadful from all perspective, right? It's been dreadful from healthcare and welfare perspective. It has had a serious impact on our social lives and psyche as a country and as a globe. And of course, the impact on the economy has also been severe. In fact, there are many studies ranging that the sheer impact of the lockdown itself on the Indian economy is somewhere between $90 billion to $120 billion, depending on which expert you listen to. Barclays was saying 90. There's a report from Economic Time which said 120. And quite honestly, we do not know, but we all know that the impact is definitely severe. And it's unlike anything we have seen in the past 20 or 30 or 40 years. A lot of people are comparing this to a great World War II depression-like scenario. Some in India are comparing it to the 1972 war, which we had. But most of the generation and most of us sitting in this call wouldn't have been alive to even experience those kind of scenarios. So yes, the impact is definitely large. there are some sectors who have been hit more severely or have been more impacted than the others. To name a few is hospitality, travel, retail, automobiles, which was anyway struggling. Some of this has made the impact more acute, and those sectors are struggling. While there are some sectors whom we believe will end up doing reasonably well once the lockdown is removed. So we're definitely expecting the healthcare and the pharmaceutical sectors to do well. We're expecting e-commerce, FMCG, logistics sectors to do well. And we are also expecting the technology and the edutech sectors to reasonably be resilient in this scenario. So that's just a broad economic overview. And I'm sure my experts and my fellow panelists will be able to throw more light into it and give us more very sector-specific insights as to how each sector is reacting to this. As far as what a student can expect, it depends on how quickly we are able to find a cure for the COVID-19 pandemic. If we are able to get a vaccination very quickly, maybe as early as September, I think the impact would be curtailed. But there are also talks about vaccination coming probably only in the first quarter of 2021. So in such a scenario, the economic impact of this crisis would not just be limited to 2020, but would also very much well spread into 2021. And the globe might take around 2 to 3 years to get back to normal. So we will definitely have a new normal tomorrow. I think that's it for me. You're on mute, Sham.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really, means it gives me goosebumps. So our next panelist is Dr. Deepak Singh. He's the Director, Human Resources at KPMG India. Dr. Singh's core expertise spans in areas of transformation, organization strategy, setting up of COEs, talent acquisition, organization development, industrial relations, and industrial greenfield projects. Sir, I would request you to throw some light and maybe, give a go-to tip. Like, what is that one thing which comes to your mind when you think of the current students around the world? What is that one tip that you would like to share with them?
Sure. Am I audible, Sumitra? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you for inviting me to this forum, and thank you for the introduction. And very good evening to the fellow panelists and students and others those who are listening to this webinar. So, see how Anup briefed the economy. Definitely, times have changed. It's a new norm. It's a new thing. Never ever one could have thought of being at home and then working for such a long time. Students never thought of being at home for such a long time. New theories and therapies have started around how do you celebrate being at home. So such things have which has hit the the generation, the oldies and the new ones. Definitely it gives you an immense opportunities for the new things. So while there are things, it's all on negative things which are floating around today. What will happen to the economy, what will happen to the market, what will happen to the students, jobs, etc., etc. So let me give you another perspective here. Though times have changed, this is a new opportunity. Definitely there are opportune time waiting for us ahead, right? Whether it's for students, whether it's for the people, those who are in the industry, whether it's economy, government, everyone. When this pandemic has hit us, definitely it has brought in a new perspective also. You look at the ways things have changed, the way we have started operating from home, the way students have started learning from home. New things have already started up. Screen time has increased. A lot of research has gone into it. So if you ask me a tip for students, currently what are they doing and what they're supposed to do is the time to upskill. There's a lot of umpteen number of time. What we have seen is that when it's a holiday time, what you do is you spend your time on holiday and then do it. Now it's been enough of holidays, which students have already gone through it. So it's now time to do an upskilling. Do maximum number of internships, which is like a lot of organizations are offering online and internships. do that. There are online courses which you can go for it. You can read journals, you can read white papers. Just try and sharpen your saws so that when this lockdown is over or when the economy is to the normal, you will be the people who will be the cutting bushes first, right? Rather just spending time and looking at what is going to happen. Just try and keep sharpening your edges. That's the time. This is the time when people, those who have utilized it well, the most beneficial will be those who will upskill their skills now. So whether it's computer skills, whether it's language, whether anything which is to do with your subject matter, make it more expertise. Go for it. Do courses. Do go for internships which are available, and definitely make a cutting edge to it. This is something which is a highline tip today from a corporate to the students would be, because when you come back or when you are available to us, it shouldn't sound like you have done nothing and you have wasted these 2-3 months, and you'll never know how many months to go like that. So definitely that is something which is anything which I would propose or suggest to the students now. Over to you, Mr.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope it was like pretty informative for all the students who are listening to us. Our third panelist for today is Mr. Sushil Bharadwaj. He is a senior analyst, a talent acquisition at Dell Technologies, a hiring specialist with considerable experience of recruiting from the best E school and B school of varied roles. Hello, sir. Good evening. My question to you is, will students get the same amount of focus and mentorship when in a company which they used to receive pre-COVID?
Great. Thank you so much, Amish. I think that was a wonderful way of putting across. And good evening to all the panelists along with me and folks who are listening on the call. Right. Great thoughts to start with. And Deepak has rightly put what we are looking at as a current scenario, right? So to answer that question, yes, the focus has shifted. Of course, if somebody is physically present at office versus somebody who's virtually present, of course, the expectation or the responsibilities are different. But the focus has not changed from who's working in an organization has not changed. Of course, there are different ways of looking at things. We are, as an organization, even we are analyzing various ways of how do we inculcate the habit of giving up more responsibilities to a person. How do we engage the person in a better way? So I keep getting these questions quite often from people who just pass out of college and then join an organization, saying we are in a situation where this is the time where we have to show our presence to the organization, right? So we have to be in a situation where I could reach out to my mentor every now and then, or my manager every now and then, and keep him or her informed about the responsibilities I'm performing. But given the current scenario where I cannot meet him face to face, what has the focus changed? Will I be evaluated on different parameters? The answer to that question is no, of course not. We have ways of evaluating a person as equivalent, if I have to put it that way, as a person who is face to face. So it has not changed, but yes, of course, the focus has shifted, but of course, the deliverables and other responsibilities remains the same. So there's no change in the focus, no change in the, how do we evaluate a person, no change in deliverables. So looks good now.
Thank you so much, sir. So I have a set of questions which I'll be putting forward, and all of us, all the panelists, we can, come to a common conclusion and we can maybe talk it out, we can discuss so that students get a better picture. Like, I'll try to put a majority of their questions to you, but definitely they are open to a question answer session. So we'll start. So my first question is, what do you think is going to be the new normal when it comes to sharing a space with someone, be it in office, streets, public spaces, etc.?
Would Sushil or Deepak like to take that?
Yeah, I would like to give it a shot. right? So to start with, that's a good question, right? So everybody starts, Deepak and Anup would also second that. We are going to hit the new normal, right? So this is going to be something where, Sharmisha, you also mentioned that we started using masks, right? We started using sanitizers quite often than we were using in the past, right? So always a psychological fear, right? Once the lockdown is lifted and once probably things settle down and people start going to offices, colleges, right, public places, streets, like you mentioned, right? So there is always a concept of psychological fear that will prevail for a couple of months. So we have to accept it that it's going to prevail. There might be a lot of chaos, but individuals have to try their best to cope up with the new trend. So today we are working from home, so we're not stepping out as needed. But once things are in place, we may have to step out to do our daily chores. So that fear would be there. And if you look at from an organization perspective, yeah, companies are cognizant about the workplace safety as well. So that is also taken into consideration. Of course, this will be the new norm, and there will be certain policies around working from home. In fact, as an organization, we were having a lot of discussion saying, can we extend the work from home for a couple of months, even when the lockdown is lifted, right? So are there any policies around it? Can we look at something of that sort? So that was one of the discussions that I was part of, right? And I believe for people who are shopaholics, right? So the online shopping forum would become more relevant. People who still felt that the touch and feel of shopping should be there might move on to become a online shopper. So that is also there. And governments might also take considerable action on how do we accommodate lesser set of people on public transports, and things will fall in place. I suppose Anup and Deep add to it.
Sure. Let me add on to what Sushil is saying. So there are multiple facets to it. One is, I think government has already made many provisions where most of the services are going to go online, right from like getting a license or paying a fine, and all those things could go online, so that the opportunity or the need to visit the government office would be reduced substantially. The second thing what organizations are looking at is that one realization is when you look at the past 40 days, most of the workforce has been agile. They've been able to put in a productive output during the stressful times. So it is kind of given certain organizations, especially led by the offices, what they have, like it's that it's going to let go of 75% of the offices and increase the amount of work from home capability of its employee, and only have, let's say, a certain percentage of people come to the real offices at a given time, and they might come in a more staggered manner. Something what Dubai has done, they lifted their lockdown last week, and what they've done is, as a mandate, they said any given office can only have 30% of its staff working on a given day. So anyway, I think a lot of cyclical scheduling for coming to work will be imposed, at least in the short to medium run, before things normalize. But I definitely see a lot of work from home capabilities being extended. We definitely see a lot of e-commerce and digital businesses thriving, and also digital skill sets being onto the fore. Because we might be a different domain specialist, but all of us will need some amount of digital skill set. From a psychological perspective, I think this is going to be the main difference for somebody who's going to join workforce tomorrow vis-a-vis somebody who's already worked. While when you're already working in a company, you would have formed those informal networks, colleagues, friends, peer groups, mentors, and there was that comfort of a face-to-face connection which is existing. And in many ways, this can still happen over phone and online. But for a new joinee who's going to enter a company, they will have to be innovative in their approach to create those kind of networks. So they will have to probably take the initiative, form those peer groups, networks, connections, friends through a digital medium. And it'll be interesting to see how organization cultures and productivity changes. And in a way, I'm also a huge positive believer, as Deepak did say, that human beings always find a way to thrive and do well.
Thank you. So my next question is, what do you feel is the key to being a successful professional in a grim situation like this?
Deepak, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a very tricky one to comment in these times, that, you know, what does it take
Precisely.
for to be a successful individual or a professional? Because India, if you look at the whole, you know, the professional arena, if I must say, the whole thing has now shifted from, you know, lateral hires workers to almost like millennials. So, and when I say millennials, they don't have any structured way of, you know, looking at professionalism. You know, they do it what is important. They do it when they want to do it. You know, they wear it. They dress it the way they want to dress it, and they are multi skilled workforce. So therefore it is very it's very difficult for an individual to say that okay, you could be. But you know, having said that, though there are people who work in different scenarios and they have different skills around, the only crux, or the successful mantra today is to become a subject matter expertise. If you are not a subject matter today, people will not look at you, because the workforce to do below the job, which is like, everyone can do everybody's job, that is something which is already there. So that platform is taken away by millennials, or you say people those who have not done their full education, they are undergrads, or in different skill sets, different people are available. But if you have to be successful, the only way today is to go about is to become a subject matter expertise in whatever field you are. Even if you are a photographer, or you are a digital consultant, or you are a computer operator, or you're an HR professional like us, or any other profession, look at it. I mean, particular sector, you have to be absolutely on top of it. The success lies in what you know and how much can you sell that knowledge to the other one. Second one is the difference is between having a knowledge and imparting that knowledge. So if you are a subject matter expertise, the second best thing you should know is, if you have to be successful in that particular field, how can you disseminate that knowledge? How can you tell people that this is how it can be done? How can you also let people that okay, this is what the knowledge entails, this can be converted, this can be transformed. Unless that knowledge is a transformationable knowledge, definitely you will not be seen there. So two things. One is to become and take the upskilling of become a subject matter expertise. Second is you should know how do you disseminate that, how do you make people transformation with that knowledge. These two factors are very important, even if the times are shaky today. But these two grounds will definitely hold their status in the times to come.
So just to add to what Deepak mentioned, because some of the questions might be from students who are yet to start their career, right? So I would take clues from what Deepak mentioned when he introduced himself when he started with the first question, right? So pick up what's available. Like, you get some contractual opportunities, don't lose such opportunities. Do as much internship as possible, right? So do certifications wherever possible, right? Take up that opportunities, and wherever you could work on something like a live project which available, enhance your skills on those aspects, right? And take online courses wherever possible. That is also one of the opportunities. And as far as career goes, start with what you get. So grab what you get as an opportunity today, and then probably you can narrow yourself in getting into a career, and then become what Deepak mentioned, a subject matter expert. Probably you can do that.
Just adding to what Deepak and Sushil have just said, I think the alphabet which I would recommend all students who are looking for a job or going to start is the alphabet T. Um, so be like a T-shaped professional. So your subject matter expertise is the depth of the letter. So your domain expertise is really deep and long, but have enough broad-based skill set where you can leverage some of the opportunities which are coming to you, and also get those broad-based skill sets which are more relevant or complementary to your main domain expertise. So if you're let's say an engineer who designs a web, understanding web design would be really helpful. Understanding the basics of coding would be very helpful. But having very strong knowledge about computer engineering and how to create a website, of course, is not negotiable. But then having a light skill set would make you more employable and probably will give you more opportunities your way, vis-a-vis not doing any of it. And yes, like Deepak did mention, learn, uh, ensure your knowledge is absolutely deep. You disseminate it, you share it, and also learn to apply what you know. So in a way, going to Coursera's, getting certificate is important, but always be application focused rather than the certification focus alone. It's good to show the certificate to say that, hey, I've learned it and you can quiz me on this, but you should be able to apply it on a real world scenario. You should be able to apply it in a way that is relevant to the employer, or you should be able to demonstrate that, I can use these skill sets, what I've learned, and probably that'll be helpful in the real life scenario. So that demonstration and that articulation of that knowledge is also very important as to how you will thrive and you will be a value addition to the team.
Thank you so much. So my next question is, what role should a company play in an individual's life post-COVID?
Sushil, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so it's more of what the company play. So it's more of a mentorship, right? So these are testing times. So we are in a situation where every other organization is thinking more of a strategic capabilities. They are redefining their recruitment strategies. They are redefining their businesses, right? So I keep getting into such calls where they are looking at a complete different type of a scenario, and there comes my intervention, right? So I, as a talent acquisition specialist or a partner, so my question is always focused on students, or always focused on somebody who's getting a career, right? Who's starting a job, or who's already in the organization, because I keep getting such questions, right? The focus or the response that I receive from a lot of experts when I talk to them is that the company as an organization will mentor more, right? So there will be a lot of mentorship that will happen, right? The trust factor and the transparency factor should also come, adds value to the candidate, right? So it's always a question of whether am I being well informed, am I being informed about what is happening in the organization from a core a vision or a vision statement that's happening, right? So am I being part of it? Am I being excluded from all these information or not? Because these are times when students will have some questions. Students or people who have joined recently will have a question. So somebody who has spent considerable amount of time in the industry might live this moment, but somebody who is in the brink of making a career or starting a career kind of a situation will have this question altogether, always saying, am I being left out? Am I being in the verge of being pushed out of the organization? Absolutely not. The organization is always doing its best to hold its ground. And trust and transparency is something that I spoke about. That's one of the best things that organizations are doing and will continue doing it.
Anything?
Deepak, do you want to say something?
Yeah, of course. Slightly a different perspective. Today, the whole scenario will depend. I mean, it's not a one shot or a one solution to all the industries, because every industry will behave differently. And it's more today, if you ask me, the strategy is all backward engineering. What your client wants, because if it's not a gloomy time, it's a time when things are not in the right shape. So definitely a situation comes in play where the economy needs to be a very pivotal in taking all the decisions. So today, what your client want, because any industry would first look at clients. For example, if it is a medical or a pharma side of a sector, definitely they would want to see what is the demand, what client is keeping today in the market. So based on that demand, your entire strategy for the organization will change. Similarly, what is there for automotive now? For example, now the times are where people have started saving a lot of money. So therefore, people may not go for a luxurious brand today. If somebody wanted to buy a BMW 7, which is worth ₹1 crore, definitely one would hold on for a while and see that when I have enough money, when there is an economic positivity around, definitely I'll go for it. So similarly, different organizations will have different strategies today. But definitely one thing which will be core line factor would be how do you manage your own employees? Because employment today, and India being a large country where you have most of the population which is young population, so it definitely boils down to whether you are able to employ such large population. How do you manage the skilled population in house, so that they don't lose the ground and run away from industry to industry, or maybe leave our country and go to a different country where economies are good. So therefore, these are some challenging times, and people are weaving strategies around. I was reading the other day on Tata. So Tatas are definitely, the automotive side of the Tata is definitely looking up to see how do they, strategize in a way that if they are still relevant, and relevant in the times of this economic turndown, and relevant to the clients. So you have to see from a student perspective, you have to see that in which industry you're going, and how is that industry shaping up, and basis that shape up or the economic impact on that industry, the strategies that industry may play in. So don't get confused, or don't get so much of anxiety around that what will happen, because every industry today is going through the same phase. So definitely what will be cooking up in the boardroom is something which is more strategic and viable towards the clients and employees. That's for the sure. I mean, if I look at my organization today, when we are talking, we are going through series of board meetings and discussing how do you protect your client, and how do you protect your employees. So best thing is to be relevant for the client, and how you can support clients, and how do you at the same time manage your own talent. So therefore things are pretty fluid now, but definitely these two things are in focus. Anup, if you want to add something on that.
Well, I'm going to bring my academician hat on and try to add on and build on to what both of you just said. So if I were to like bring in, the world is always a VUCA environment, right? The olden definition of VUCA comes from army, or when we go to war, it was actually volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So those still persist, and they've just become much more sharpened. So a lot of companies are thinking about business continuity, taking care of its employees, defending its clientele, ensuring that the cash flows remain relevant, your bottom line is still managed. So those are the immediate tactical discussions which might be happening within the company for the past 40 days, and they might be looking at context from the next 3 to 6 months and 2020. But also, if I were a CEO of a company, then I might actually go back to the drawing room and say, okay, let me relook at my vision as to where do I get to go, and where do I want to be, and how do I get there? Because it's not going to be the same path what would have charted 3 months back. There's obviously been a deviation from that. So I would probably relook at my vision and relook at how do I get there, and chart a new path for that. Second thing I would really quickly gain is an understanding of the capabilities of the company. What is the capabilities of the company? Is there an opportunity to increase the capabilities of the company? Is there an opportunity where I can use my strength in allied areas? Can I diversify, or do I need to remain extremely focused in what I need to do? So reduce some of the unwanted things, focus on the really core issues and ignore the good to haves, for instance. The third thing is courage for everybody and every company or individual. I think the key important thing is courage. How do I approach this market from a courage standpoint? Keep the environment positive, keep the motivation levels of your team high, have a more positive approach towards what you're doing. And the fourth and the most important thing is adaptability. We can't be stuck on what used to work previously. The whole organization needs to adapt, needs to be agile, and that means taking some tough decisions. That also means changing some of the things what used to be, and embracing some of the new changes. So in a way, you have the old VUCA, which kind of dictates the external environment, and you have the VUCA 2.0, which is actually based on a Harvard article which I was reading, where most companies need to look at inward and also adapt and match both. And COVID has just acted as a catalyst, because some of these were already there in the periphery.
All of you had like really different opinions to it, but they were really lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Question. That's why. never ask a panel.
I know.
We'll give you more.
It's like a diaspora of things being like take it. Yeah, what it's really. So my next question is, India is more of a place, which is socially more developed, like in comparison to, its economic development. And so do you really feel that social distancing, this trend, is, going to mentally and emotionally bring people down, or like, is it just going to be the same? What is your take on this?
I think Sushil had a point of view on this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. So India as as a country is more socially related. So they are more emotional, and they need people around. So we need if you step into a marriage today, there's nothing less than 500 or 600, right? That's the bare minimum that you can that you can do, right? So India is more woven together. So we are always together, right? So this, first of all, this situation is temporary. So we have been talking about social distancing. We have been talking about working from home. We have been talking about not meeting people face to face. These situations are up, so people will boom back, so they'll come back. So we had inputs from Anup, we had inputs from Deepak that a couple of industries are going to boom, right? It's going to go at a two-folded. We'll never know, right? So a couple of new opportunities and avenues are coming up. So it's more of a temporary situation. So there's nothing to worry about. But how do people engage or keep themselves occupied in this scenario, especially for organizations like we are having today, right? And the best thing is always the survival of the fittest comes into picture, right? So you need to just adapt, be flexible, and just instead of just sailing through the wind will what make you go out of this situation, and we'll soon become even more bonded, and I think we'll get back to what we were in the past as well. Yeah, Anupan, Deepak, want to add something?
I mean, Sushil, you got us to the site of
Absolutely, yeah.
weddings.
Now you rightly said. I mean, though we are on screen time today, but it's a temporary phase that will go away anyways. And this is more heat which we're feeling is around the urban sector where we live in societies and we have captured in our flats and so and so forth. But you look at the rural India, which is our 80% of India, and I keep talking to my cousins and some of them, those who are living in rural places, they are pretty fine. I mean, then nothing has changed. It's just that their shopping time going to the big cities have changed, but they are happy because they're saying the COVID-19 is a you know it's a pandemic which richies have got into India. People who could travel afford to travel abroad. So, but there the social thing is pretty much happening. Though they are also maintaining distance and so on and so forth, but they are happy. So it's only us those who live in societies are feeling this pinch, but I think more or less it will go down. The evening, people are still chit chatting and going out, and I mean, I personally go out for a walk, in my society, and things are going to be normal. So, psychological factor, which the hidden quotient in this question is something which is very important today. The important factor for us to learn around is that how do we cope up psychologically, where you are not exposed to the outer world. So how are you managing it today? That is important, and I think now people have started realizing that it is very important to always different, which also comes around when you meet people, you greet people, when you travel out, when you go to learn different cultures, when you eat different food, different dress ups. So all that is something which is also part of your life, which is sticking around. Besides the intellect part of you, which you anyways gain through the technology, because this technology is today. I mean, if you if you ask me, my school, village school rather, they had no technology at all. They learned practically, physically sitting with everyone. So we are privileged because, and then therefore these things are there. But definitely, your psychological development is very important. I think that is something which I would urge students to keep, stimulating again and again, because that is something which will reflect when you suddenly come out an interview or you go and join an organization. Definitely people will look at how much psychologically mindfulness of health is thriving in you. So very important, students, for you to always look around on your psychological aspect as
Actually, the interesting thing is, if you notice, a certain things which has changed within the past 40 days. And in a way, I'm very fellow countrymen for doing some of this. Is the amount of donation to CSR has increased multifold. Let it be individuals, businessmen. Most of us would have given at least minimum of 1 day's wages to the Prime Minister's fund. I see a lot of church, temples, and other religious institutions catering to the poor in the neighborhood. So in a way, I think as a society, yes, there used to be a very huge divide when it comes to economic or money or income, which everybody used to get. But somehow, I think those differences are reducing, and in a way, we are more interconnected than ever before. So I see that as a major change. Second is, firstly, talking for me, I think I've had more Zoom calls with my family and my extended family in the past 40 days than I probably had in the year. So in a way, yes, family is important and it gets to the relevance. The third thing is everybody's put health as a number one priority today, vis-a-vis uh, other things, what it would have been 40 days back. I think that's again for the positive. Uh, and I'm probably the fourth. That's more an advice for the students who are going to graduate. I would say there are three B's. I love acronyms by now. So I say be focused, and be relevant. So I think those are my three B's for them. So work on these, and these are momentary, yes, impactful events. But lockdowns will it's just a pause strategy. It's not a end game in itself. So we can't be on lockdown forever. The lockdowns have to be removed. We will get back to getting engaged in productive means, and all of us will find a way to survive, cope, and thrive.
Thank you so much. So, like Mr. Sushil said some time back, that students should sail with the tide, right? So, my question is, like, should the students sail with the tide and work in conventional fields, or stand against the tide and wait for sector specific offers?
So maybe I'll continue with the point where I left. Yeah, students, in my opinion, personally speaking, the current scenario in place should sail with the wind. Of course, as we all spoke, it's a temporary situation. Students will get enough and more opportunities once the industry is revived, right? So once we are all in place and new opportunities comes up, of course they can look out for multiple opportunities. But in this time period where we have limited opportunities, where the opportunities, every industry is redefining, like I said, their strategies, right? Like Deepak said, there are a lot of board meetings that is happening. There's a lot of meetings that is happening in understanding what is the client requirement, how can we be more relevant to the client, right? In such scenarios, I would recommend students to start with, in my personal opinion, to go with the sail with the wind to begin with. Like a T formation that I mentioned, right? So start where you can fit in yourself, right? Pick up your opportunities, and then probably once things settle down, and once you have more knowledge about a particular industry, and once you have spent considerable time in it, of course you can pick up your own career and specialize in it.
Deepak, you want to add on to it?
See, it's a very difficult question to respond today, but definitely, as I spoke, subject matter expertise is good to have, and that's the direction one needs to move. But at the same time, if you have, if you have time, and if you can, enroll yourself into, some kind of courses and wait for the right opportunity, I think that is also something which you can do it. But having said that, if you are ready to launch today and you feel that I need to get at least into a different, or maybe any job first, or to join any corporate, and then later on see what is going to happen, that is also doable. The only thing is that you have to be then compromising on your what it says, all about your role. You may not get the desired role what you must be aspiring for. You may not get that relevant experience which you may be thinking now, that okay, if I go there and I will learn so much things, and then because that may not be ready there, and that may not be available because the client wouldn't have asked for it, or it's not relevant anymore to the client, so that experience on the job experience may not be there. So certain compromises or certain low expectations, you have to go there and walk in with that thing, and then flow with the tide. If you have time, and if you can spare the time and invest in upskilling your knowledge further, I think that is something which can be still picked up. But it's up to you how do you want to take it up. I mean, if you really feel that you need to just join, then these are the areas which you need to be mindful of. But I personally, if you ask me personally, and this is my personal opinion, if I were you, definitely I would have waited for the right opportunity, because I want to build my career in that particular industry. So therefore, that's my target. And in between, till this time, comes into the normal play, maybe next 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months down the line. Definitely, I would try and upskill myself, do some internships, be relevant to the studies, and be connected to the industry, and then see where I'm making it the right point. I mean, that's what I would have done it personally. Over to
All
you,
right.
though.
All right. It's actually a tough question, right? And what I always tell every individual is, why don't you do a vision for yourself? And please don't keep it in your mind, but write it down on a piece of paper as to where do you see yourself 10 years from now. And when you do this, don't just do it for your profession. Please add marriage, higher education, owning a pet, everything you can think of, because make it holistic. And also involve your parents when you do this, because have a conversation with them as well. So when you jot that down and you say that my destination is, let's say, this is my destination 10 years from now. And mind you, that destination can change the very next day or 6 months down the line. So be flexible in that, because you might get something better or something which might interest you. So it's not cast in stone, but it's at least a plan as to where you want to go. So in a way, what it does is it gives you an awareness of what really aspires you, what matters to you, and not just some odd objective which is not a very unrealistic thing, or not very real for you in particular. So I would say do that. Now, the minute you do that, you might actually see there are multiple ways in which how you can get from today to there. It's not just one journey or a path, right? And yes, some journey or a path may not be as let's say may not be the ones you would choose to do, but you would still have a few options. For example, if you say stay and wait, then you still have two options. You can stay at home and do nothing, or you can go out and pick some internship. You can go out there and do some courses, or go sign up for higher education and come back to the market a year or 2 years down the line. So in a way, even when you say I will wait for the opportunity, you still have to be able to develop three options. The least favorable option for me is stay at home and do nothing. In my opinion, I would never recommend that. I would always say do something, be relevant, because if you stay at home and do nothing, then 6 months down the line or 8 months down the line, when you go sit for an interview panel and the question they ask you is, what have you done for 8 months or 6 months or 3 months since graduation? And you can't say that, I played Super Mario and played video games, unless you're being a game designer or something, right? I mean, it's not necessarily the best answer. In a way, I would say find multiple options, because there are always options available to you, right? And pick one option or a hybrid option which you think works. The other option is pick what you get today, but continue building your strengths in this side. 6 months, I'm going to get into the core job which I need. So that way, you're also giving yourself more options. Now, when you have done when you do not have a job and you go attend for a job interview and you want to negotiate, the pressure a student or candidate faces or puts on himself is tremendous. Vis-a-vis having a job, having something in hand, and then negotiating and talking, right? So it's a very highly customized option. And quite honestly, nobody can answer this question but yourself. Because for some, it may work, for some, it may not work. And it's a highly individual, personalized question to answer. But I would definitely recommend everybody come and do your 10-year plan and put that in a piece of paper. I think that's the big place to begin with.
Thank you so much. So, like I just heard somewhere, like you should, like you said, Anup said that further you can do your masters or you can go into the core sector where you have always wanted to be in. So, for a fresh graduate who's just stepping into the industry, what would be your suggestion? Like pursuing masters or taking up a job? Which one do you think will be more relevant, keeping the pandemic and the whole lockdown thing in mind?
Okay, let me go first on this. First and foremost, if you get a good job which you like, take it. I think it's a no-brainer, right? There are just not enough of them out there. So if you get a job, my recommendation is always take it. But again, if you don't find something which you don't like or you don't get, or it's an absolute no-go, and you're extremely passionate about what you want to do, then upskilling yourself through a master's or courses or internship is always a very good idea. So I would say it's a bit of both, but it's very contextualized to your scenario now. See, and also when I say upskilling, for example, let's say if you want to go into the core auto sector, now you know that the auto sector is facing a lot of crisis. Automation is probably what most of the clients will end up doing or opt to do. And in that way, having an understanding of robotics is always a way of upskilling yourself and say, okay, I'm an automotive engineer, but I have an understanding about robotics. And when you go to a future client and say, you know what, automation is a key trend, and maybe that's the way you might be going. So here I am an automotive engineer with skills in robotics, and hence making yourself more employable. So it's not that either this or that. You add complementary and allied skills so that the odds of you getting a job or your dream job is much better. I think over to you, Deepak and Shashi.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I absolutely second that, Anup, because today, if you look at any post-graduation, this is all situational based, okay? It's all simulations, what you get to learn there. It's no more a bookish study which they teach you. It's more practical approach that they get to the table. So to make it tax study relevant, it is today mandatory to have at least served in any industry for at least 2-3 years. Right. So post your graduation, you have to be serving for 1 or 2 years within the industry, and the relevance of that work is to when you move to the for your masters, you don't find yourself absolutely cut off from what is being taught there. So therefore it is very imperative for students today, if you get an opportunity for a good job and in the area which you want to be expert, then definitely one should pick it up. But if you have that time in hand, definitely 2-3 months is not going to be so much of a challenge. Right? So do not feel that today if I lose my 1 quarter or 2 quarters, so nothing's going to move. Still life is there, nothing is changing much. You will still not miss your bus, because anyways if you look at if you go for a PG now, these first 2 quarters or 1 quarter is, I don't think there'll be too much of studies happening, and it will be more of an online thing. Personally, I would recommend, if you get a job now, you should take it, because jumping onto the other side also would be very hasty. So definitely make more relevance of your time, make relevance of your internship or the or an industry experience, and then go for a PG. I think that will be much more relevant for you, because tomorrow when you go to that uh, forum, and if you get enrolled, so what you will be studying there would be just a bookish thing, because you will not have any work ex with you, and therefore that will not make so much of a connect with you on your understanding of concepts which are being taught there. I think all the B schools pretty much follow the same pattern, uh, and in B schools patterns is being followed by the other PG institutes. So therefore, pretty much the education is evolving all around experience. And so therefore, if you do not have experience and you directly land up into PG, you will find slightly disconnected there. So it will be good if you take and work X and then do your PG. I think that will be much more healthy and relevant.
Actually, just adding on to what Deepak is saying, I mean, this is very important for anybody who is looking at pursuing higher education. One is the exposure you get in the higher education college is very, very important. Second thing, spend some time on seeing how closely integrated the college is with industry. It should have very close ties with the industry, and see how well integrated they are. Look at the alliances, what they have. Look at the amount of visiting faculties they get from the industry. Look at the quality of the faculty who are going to teach you. And if you also understand the pedagogy of what the college does, see how cutting edge they are. Because, you can learn a degree which is like 10 years old and nothing has changed in there. In fact, there's a study by, especially specific to engineering, where nothing has changed for the past 10 years in terms of the quality of the education across the board in India. So be very choosy about the colleges you do. So pick colleges who are constantly asking at least the right questions when it comes to your domain. Because if you've asked the right question, I'm sure you guys are smart enough to find an answer or get there. So be very careful about the college you pick. Also look at the exposure you're going to get in the college. Because in education is a fantastic thing, provided it's of the right exposure and the right content what you're learning. So that way, I would say be wise about what you pick and investigate a lot more about the college, what you want to do. And always in today's environment, look at how strong the career service team is, because you still need your college to come and get your job. So look at these systems in place, processes in place, what they have. In fact, that's actually a question I'm going to, how did you prepare for your job now that you're a student and a lot of them are students? So have you got a job first and foremost?
Yeah.
Sorry to put you in the spot. And
No.
how did you prepare for it?
So the time when I got my job, I was not into this thing. So yeah, it was like pretty smooth, and thanks to the college and the infrastructure and the training that they gave me all these 4 years, it was pretty smooth. And there were these campuses, there were these companies on campus which had come for recruitment. So I got a chance to sit for a couple of them, and I got through a good company. And yeah, so when I was preparing for it, and we had a rigorous training too, and it was like the college had put in a lot of effort, be it from the career services end or be it from the end of the professors, our dean. They helped us endlessly. We had people from the industry, external people from the industry, who had come to give us talks, and they told us what is the scenario out there, and like what will be the it thing to do. And like when I joined the university, I'll be very frank, time the kind of job opportunities which my seniors were offered were very mainstream and stereotypical, to be very honest. 4 years, 2016 and this is 2020, it's a long time. So the opportunities which were offered at that point of time were very narrow. And now when I see and look at the opportunities, it's like wonderful. And I'm so glad that, this situation is very temporary. I feel that a huge wind of change is going to come. And this is something very temporary. And again, we are going to have, and we will look at the green pasture of thing. It's beautiful. And we have, core sectors coming up. It's not only like, I'll speak for design. It's not only like we have UI, UX, we have hardcore product design, we have furniture design, we have all those, bifurcations, and it's really well placed. So yeah, I'm thankful for that. Thank you, sir, for the question.
Sorry for putting on the spot.
No, please, not at all. So, do we?
I think there are a lot of audience questions also.
Correct.
Maybe you want to pick some.
So I was just going through the questions.
I think there was one question specifically addressed to Deepak, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, there's one question to Sushil here. Akshay Gupta has written, how do you think IT sector, especially Dell, would be thinking to restructure itself in terms of projects, revenue, hiring, and the client-employee relationships? What sort of decisions have been taken to ensure the company as well as employees stay on track? Wow, that's like asking your boardroom conversation to be discussed.
No, that's a very relevant question. I think thank you so much, Akshay, for posting it. It's an amazing question and very relevant for the current topic that we are discussing, right? So, yes, like we mentioned, the entire hour we focused on, what kind of opportunities and what kind of strategies, what kind of topics are being discussed, right? So, we are very clear from the IT sector or the product organizations kind of a sector, we are more towards what the client requests today, right? So we are discussing, like Deepak said, we are focusing on what the client requires, right? How can we focus ourselves to the deliverables? How can we focus our employees and make them relevant, right, to what the client expectation is? Now it's the time of the hour where we cannot be, experimenting too much, though we have the flexibility to experiment, but we need to be more focused as we speak, right? That's the current scenario. And we have a lot of opportunities for the employees as well. So internally, thanks to the learning and development organizations, they have coming up with a lot of relevant skills that can be enhanced through online platforms, of course, which are more relevant to enhance their skill set and focus more on deliverables as well. So we are doing our best, and the organization is more focused than ever now, and we have been hearing from a lot of the leadership aspects as well. So how are we focusing, and what are the key areas that we are doing good, and where the focus is going more with the current scenario. But the focus has not been lost for other aspects where reskilling or the upskilling is happening. So that is going on. So we have a good balance in the organization, and things are falling in place. Like we all mentioned, it's a temporary situation. So it's the time where employees also needs to make their mark, get themselves visible, upskill themselves wherever possible. There are a lot of forums within the organization, outside the organizations, free courses available. So just do some research, and we should all be sailing through this. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think there's a question from Jasmine. I think Deepak, I'm going to post it to you. Will the economy bloom again? That's the question. So I think some silver linings, what we believe. I think we've been talking too many on the hard facts. But absolutely, it's going to bloom again. What else can happen?
Yeah, though I'm not an economist. Sorry, who has asked this question?
Jasmine has asked this
Jasmine,
question.
okay. Jasmine, so I'm not an economist, but however, from my vast experience in the fraternity, and I come from a consulting background and working there for a long time. So, and we have been advising Government of India also, and especially on Ministry of HRD and Ministry of Finance. So with my experience and with my discussion with the colleagues, the silver lining in the positive news is all about, yes, India is going to bloom up again. And if you look at the scenarios across the world, I mean, without even having expertise comments around, you see the countries, those who have large populations, okay, like China and India, they are self-sufficient and the world is looking up to them. Okay, so China's scenario is slightly deterred in last couple of months. You would have seen yesterday they have stopped taking dollars and all that, and they're trying to promote their own currency. And the times are not very far that when we will also stop taking dollars around, and we will be self-reliant 100%, and our rupee will be promoted all across. That's what I mean. The world is actually taking circles and rounds to come up to that level. What America did after post World War II, where they pumped the dollars into the market and then said everything would be traded around dollars, not any other currency. So therefore, China is playing the same game, and they know their strength, the workforce, the turnaround with the workforce, the quick supply across the world, the raw material available in the country. Similar things are, right bang on we have with India as well. It is the matter of time how we set up our industries, how do we align our workforce towards those industries. Definitely times are going to be very, very lovely being in India. I was talking to a couple of my colleagues within the organization, those who are in US. They are already seeing this change, and they may anytime start migrating from US to back to our country. The jobs are the same, experience what you get is the same, what you get in our country is the same. The pay packets are now to earn in US. The only thing is that how aligned we are, how our technology changing. That is something you have to watch for it, because that is something which you can't change. If you live in Bombay, the train situation you can't change. If you live in Delhi, the Chandni Chowk will never change. If you look in Bangalore, the traffic will not go away. If you live in Hyderabad, the IT city will remain like that. If you live in Goa, you will always have the cool breeze coming in. So certain things will not change, but overall, from an economic standpoint, from a earning capacity, per capita earning, all that will go very, very high. And this is not only I'm referring to your urban sector. I'm also referring to the rural sector, because we also do a lot of work with Ministry of Animal Husbandry and Ministry of you know, Ministry of Niti Aayog, where they work with the farmers. So you see the per capita farmer income has almost doubled today what they used to earn 20 years ago. And further, they are making efforts to further double in farmers' income, so that they are also in the line of per capita income, so that countries the whole economic status goes up. So therefore, the good news is we are changing. Yes, India will sail through it, and we'll have a silver lining. Very come soon. I mean, so you will see next couple of years it will be fantastic ahead.
I think a lot of the problems what you're seeing is going to be more short term in the next 3 months or maybe 6 months, because after that we are a huge population with resources. In fact, one of the most pertinent things which I see is currently the globe was more a unipolar or a bipolar globe, with US being the biggest power, maybe with China as the opposing bloc. But currently, we find those kind of things will change, and it'll become a much more a collaborative and much more involved globe, where power centers of countries in East Asia are rising into power, and countries such as India coming to the fore. And also, there's, I think, one of the fallback of this is also where a lot of developed countries such as Japan has set up funds encouraging countries to remove manufacturing from China and probably come India's way. So which is fantastic. And also looking at the oil prices, which is expected to be under $20 a barrel for sure over the next a year, and probably year and a half, which is really positive for the Indian economy, because that means one of the biggest expenses in exchequer is kind of contained and managed. And so once we are able to get out, I think it's going to be an opportunity for businesses to thrive and do well. So in a way, it's also a transformative stage. Hence, you're finding a lot of churn and chaos. But in my opinion, I think we will come out very strongly,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
we will succeed and strive. Yeah.
just to add to there, Anup, I mean, if you see India of the last 6, 7 years, or maybe a decade back, I mean, how the renewable energies have taken up. You never know, next 10 more years, the way scenario may be upside down. You may not need a fossil fuel at all. You may need only fossil fuel to run your cars only. Or that is also changing now when you run on energy.
Changing.
The entire Punjab and Rajasthan and Gujarat is generating so much of solar energy. Now it's being supplied to homes, and it has drastically dropped down. So therefore, you see, next 10 years, next one decade is going to be a very lifetime change.
True, true. The entire economy, it's not only about India, it's the entire globe that's facing this scenario of GDP going down, right? It's just around the corner that we'll boom. Like Anup and Deepak mentioned, we'll have a lot of new videos coming in as well. So we'll start booming and flourishing better than ever.
it was a really informative session. Anything else? Anyone of you would like to add?
There are two
before we wind
students,
up
one
the
who are
session?
looking for a job. I would say be positive, work on your skills, work on your resumes, be relevant, and I'm sure you will succeed. For the ones who are going to join a course, be prepared for change because the industry will automatically go through a lot of churn. So it's also important for you to stay abreast of be relevant and be agile. Because after 4 years, when you graduate, the industry will definitely not be in the current scenario what it is today. Because they would have made some fundamental changes to their industry. They would have adopted technology. They would have adopted new ways of manufacturing. Uh, Even technological upskilling like AI and ML and all would be very relevant. You're going to see a lot of digital world happening there. You're going to have big data come into play, and also a student would need a lot of high amount of cognitive skills in their disposal, and have the right attitude and the right soft skills at their disposal. So in a way, you're going to enter a highly transformative period, and so be agile, be adaptive, but it's also an opportunity to do well. So don't forget the opportunity part. So stay positive, and I'm sure you will succeed in this product.
Yeah, so great session. I think very relevant to the current scenario. Thank you so much for taking us as part of the panel. And I'm sure there might be many more questions, and we could address the most relevant ones. Feel free to ask questions in the future as well. And whenever you get an opportunity, don't shy away from asking questions. Like Anup mentioned, this is the time where a couple of things that should come in your mind. One is, how do I upskill myself? How do I be flexible? How do I adapt to the changing scenario? Right? If you could, put across your thoughts and do some research. This is a time where you can do your research as well. You have ample time to do your research. So do that, and things will certainly change, and we'll all be in a better situation than.
Deepak sir, you would like to add something?
Yeah, no, most of it we discussed it around. The final comment from my side would be don't get so much excited around. The whole world is in the same boat, and this shall pass too. And ahead times are going to be very very opportune, and a very healthy career looking ahead. It's just that keep using your time to the best, upskilling whatever you can. Don't just think too much about what's happening around. Be safe, and be connected to the world you want to be. Uh, Industry leaders where you feel that that's where the question, your answers are lying. uh, Connect with them over the LinkedIn, Facebook, or whatever social media you feel like. Call them if and check with them what's happening in that industry, because all relevant information is not there in today's world. Well, because people are cautious about social media, so you may not get your exact right answers, but world is always open. The professionals are always open in the fraternity. You can reach out to them, talk to them, and try and get a right sense of it, so that your decision becomes more proximate than very ambiguous and meaningless. So when you're creating your visions, when you're putting yourself into a stepping stone, when you're trying to put a strategy for your career, when you plan your career now, if you're clear enough, that is fine. If you're not clear enough, then definitely don't shy away to reach out to people, whichever industry you feel, and I can tell you, leaders are available, and they will definitely put you into the right track. Thank you very much. All the best.
I think that's it from us.
Thank you so much. It was a lovely, lovely session. It's like every one of us, should not, means we should not fall prey into such a situation. We should have a chameleon's vision and, not look at the door shut, but look at the multiple windows which will be opened post-COVID. And it's going to be a really beautiful scenario out there. Thank you so much, all three of you. It was lovely interacting. I got to learn so much. I believe all the students out there must have imbibed the best out of it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
Sharmishta. Bye-bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Sushil. Bye, Deepak.